Good evening, folks. How are you?
Great.
Jody says that you're a good group. A fun group. Would you classify yourself as a fun group?
You bet.
Thank goodness. Part of my background was in education, and so I spent a lot of time trying to keep students awake in the classroom. I hope that we don't have to do that here, but I've been known to come and visit you if I see you coming. So there you go. So by way of introduction, my name is Pat Navarre. I'm from the Lafayette area, and I'm here representing, as Jody has said, the National Wild Turkey Federation. And we met last June when we did the student group. And as she's eloquently stated, apparently we did okay with those kids, and she's invited me down here to speak to you folks. Jody and I spoke, and she sort of gave me an outline. I'll try and keep to that outline. I'm known as a speaker that takes side trips, depending on which way the crowd wants to go. So, some things that she wanted me to talk about. Are there any questions about wild turkey that you already have formulated that you want me to address somewhere during the talk? Anything at all? And if I don't know, I'll tell you. I won't blow smoke up your tailpipe. Yes, sir?
Are they in every county in Indiana?
They're not going to be in Marion County that I know of, around Indianapolis.
Yes, they are.
Are they? Where are they? So first and foremost, there are 5 species of turkeys in the United States. Quiz at the end. Okay. 5 species of turkey. The eastern turkey, highlighted by, these are males that are strutting. And their color patterns, if you are looking at the wings, they have a lot of white bars on the wings, and their tail fans are dark tipped and some of that golden tan. Now, a lot of these are, 3 of these species sort of look alike, and we'll just figure that out as we go along. But there's 5 subspecies. The eastern, down in Florida, called the Osceola. The Osceola has a very limited range, and I'll show you a map here in a minute. But the Osceola is very dark, and so his wing feathers here, those white bars are broken up, and you see that the wings really have a dark cast to them. The very black back here. And so it's a turkey that doesn't weigh as much as an eastern, but that's a second species here in the United States. And again, it's only in Florida. One of my favorites is the Marion. I like him because of his white, beautiful tail feathers. They're out west in the more mountainous regions, but very significant white color. You cannot misidentify the Marion. The Rio Grande is in the southwest. They look a lot like the eastern, but their tail feathers and those secondary feathers here they're not as dark as the eastern, and these are more tan buff. Very, very similar. But the Rio Grande is in the southwest. The Gould's is a turkey that's down from Arizona down into Mexico, and it looks a lot like the Marion, though you'd have to study it more closely, but the wing bars are different, and the white is a little bit different. So this is the range of the wild turkeys here in the United States. So the blue is going to be our eastern birds. And you see that that is a prevalent bird across the United States. From coast to essentially just past the Mississippi. Oh, sorry. Down here is the Osceola. You see that it doesn't even, it's not even in the whole state of Florida. Out here begins your real grand turkeys, so from about Kansas down through Oklahoma and into Texas. And the Merriams out here, the Montanas, the Colorados, New Mexico, up high in that mountainous terrain. And then you've got a smattering of different species out west because of transplanting them out there in those areas. Okay? As you all know, this is the male, right? And so the gobbler, what are the distinguishing characteristics? He generally has a white crown. This long pendulous piece of tissue here is called the snood. During the spring or during mating season, they have this appearance, and it's called strutting. They're strutting just like all your other bird species. They're trying to get the attention of the girls. So he's out here saying, I'm the biggest, the best, and the most beautiful. I have the best genetics, and you need to breed with me. The pendulous material there is the beard. So a very distinguishing factor with the turkey is the beard. Here's a side view of that, just for comparison. The juvenile, so the turkey, male turkey that's approximately a year old, has a very short beard. So you can see that demonstrated here. Okay. The hen, like all other bird species, the male, if you think about the pheasant, the rooster pheasant is very gaudy looking. The hen pheasant is very brown and muted. So is the female turkey. She's very mottled, has a blue head that stays blue throughout its lifetime. They're a smaller bird than the male. So we put those two heads together, and this is what they look like. So the male turkey on the right has the white crown of the snood, that's pendulous material. It extends and retracts. So if the gobbler is a little bit angry when he is protecting his territory, that snood is very elongated, and the let's see, can't do that, but the carnuncles, which are the big knobby flesh on the bottom of the neck, turn bright red. And around his eyes, it can turn blue, or it can be fire engine red, depending upon the blood supply. And the dewlap there becomes red. When the male turkey, if this snood is extended, not that it maybe matters to you, but if all of a sudden he finds something that doesn't look right to him, that thing retracts. He goes, I'm scared, right? So that. Fun facts. So, okay, class, how many feathers does a turkey have? A lot. Okay. Yeah, I've heard that a lot in my lifetime. A lot. What do you think? Take a guess. I can't hear you. 200. Who give me 200? 200? Give me 200. 500. Who give me 2,000? 2,000. Between 5,000 and 6,000 feathers are on a turkey. 5,000 to 6,000 feathers on a wild turkey. It's kind of impressive, isn't it? The turkeys, did you know that turkeys roost in trees at night?
Yes.
Everybody knows that. Great. Why is that important? So they don't get predators, right? Their diet. So you probably know their diet. Seeds, fruits, acorns, insects, grains. About about everything that they see they think's edible, right? Now, as it relates to, do you know what a baby turkey, a newly hatched baby turkey is called? It's not a chick, but thank you for that, that was good. It's called a poult, P-O-U-L-T, P-O-U-L-T, poult. So when a poult is born, depending upon geographically where these birds are, Florida, Midwest, out west, their primary diet is going to be insects. They need that protein from the insects for fast growth. So insects will make up about 70% of their diet in about the first week that they're born. After that, out to about a month to 5 weeks, that ratio begins to change more to plant food and less insects. However, if they're working in a either in the woods, turning leaves over, they're not going to pass up an insect to eat a forb of grass or wheat or something like that. But that ratio changes as a turkey gets older. They like the hardwoods, mixed conifers, because they like the roots up high, so they like those nice, strong trees. And can turkeys fly? Class. What's that?
They don't climb the trees.
They don't climb the trees. That's a good connection. How fast do they fly? Give me a miles per hour. They've been clocked at 55, where's that? Where's the 55 over? Yep, they've been clocked at 55 miles an hour. How far can they fly?
I mean, at least 30 feet.
At least 30 feet. Good. This is a sharp group. It's an enjoyable group. I like the interaction. They've been known to, and documented, fly a mile. Now, let me tell you how that is though. Their wing beats, there's all sorts of research been done, but their wing beats, they can fly by beating their wings out to about 200 yards. But with their wingspan, they glide, and they glide. So here in the Brown County area, if a bird pitches off the top of one of these hilltops, it can sail a long, long ways before it hits the ground. So intermittent flapping of the wings, but they've been known to fly about a mile. Hens nest on the ground, so therefore we have the option, or not option, but the predicament of predators raiding the nest. And so as people look at turkey populations, the ups and the downs, predators are a pretty important part of whether or not turkeys survive, baby turkeys. So a hen, do you know how many eggs a hen lays? 12 to 14, yep. And then how long does the hen incubate those eggs? 28 days. Yep. So, how does that work? The hen will come, the tom greets the hen lays an egg. She doesn't immediately begin to incubate that. She will wait till her whole clutch is laid before she sits. So how does she get from the nest back to eat, drink, without having predators find the nest? They take a few steps and then fly, so that they're not leaving a scent trail on the ground back to their nest. So when they get ready to incubate, they'll sit. And so they generally hide those nests fairly well in thick vegetation, underneath down trees, honeysuckle, multiple rows. I mean, they're going to hide these nests to try and prevent predation. It's been documented that the raccoon is responsible for about 70% of the predation of a nest. All of those critters, the skunk, fox, coyote, bobcat, snakes, birds of prey, are all predators, but the raccoon has been shown to represent about 70% of nest predation. So if you're thinking about how to help a population, removal of raccoons it is going to be pretty important. Okay, so now this baby poult is hatched. How long before he flies into the tree? He's very susceptible till about day 10 to 12 because he's on the ground the whole time. So it's mom's job to genetically imprint on that baby poult safety issues. Okay? At about day 12 to 14, those little guys have grown so fast with those good diets of protein that they then can begin to fly up to lower hanging branches. So they're at least up off the ground, and that's when they start getting a little bit safer. So a lot of your poult predation is going to be in that first 10 to 12 days before they can get up off the ground. So baby poults has nests on the ground. Okay, so as we all know, it happened with ducks, happened with deer. Wild turkey decline, 10 million turkeys essentially at the turn of 1900s. By the 1930s, they existed only in small pockets due to unregulated harvest. We all know about ducks and deer. I mean, they were harvesting lots of those for feeding of the population growth. Habitat destruction, essentially here in Indiana, which used to be a lot of forested property, now it's not. And so habitat destruction, because if they can't roost in trees, because we've taken them to build houses, then we've got, as you see, that problem. So in 1941, this is a map that showed essentially where the 30,000 turkeys were kind of pocketed in the United States. Think about the picture I showed a few minutes ago that were in color about how far and widespread turkeys are today. How do we do that? Restoration. So in the early years, people tried to catch turkeys and they found they were kind of hard to catch. Early attempts at the trap and transfer failed. They tried pen-reared turkeys and they found that didn't work. Why? They didn't have the genetics. The genetics of predator-prey. Think about our domesticated turkeys. They kind of walk to the food source and that's about all they have to worry about during their life. So pen-reared turkeys, they tried to transplant those and found that it truly didn't work. But that's not to say, because I always run into somebody who says, well, but yes, you probably are one of those that got some birds to make it, but they just didn't have the genetics, mom to poult, predation, how to protect yourselves. Wild turkey restoration. So the turning point was the development of the cannon net. And so with the cannon net, shoot the big net over the top, and that helped to revolutionize moving and going towards moving and transplanting turkeys. Turkey noises. Turkey noises. So what kind of noises do they make? The male does what? And why does he do that? What's that?
He's a sloppy eater.
He's a sloppy eater. What's the significance of a gobble? This is springtime. I don't know if you're out in the woods doing your things. Are you hearing gobbling in the woods? Springtime is the mating season for turkeys. So the gobbler gobbles to attract the hens. That's the purpose of the gobble. You hear a rooster pheasant crow, he's calling his girlfriends. So the gobbler gobbles from the tree limb that he's on. The hen hears him, she flies down, she goes to the tree. he finally, after he's looked down, he sees his harem there, he jumps out of the tree, and then they go and begin their courtship during the day. So gobble, and then the hen. So there are different calls, and I was just going to show you briefly and ask for a volunteer to make noise with me. Can I get a volunteer to make noise? There's lots of ways to make turkey sounds. This is called a box call. And if you look at it, it's just a hollowed out box, has a lid on the top. The sides are pretty thin. They vibrate when you take the paddle across the walls and it makes a sound. Our Native Americans used to take the wing bones of the turkey, the radius, ulna, humerus, whittle them out, hollow them out, glue them together, and make a call. They used to take reeds of grass and blow through them, making calls. So this is a box call. Okay, you just hold on to that just a second. Don't drop it, you can break it. Oh, you won't break it, I promise. Okay, so we heard gobbles. So the hen, she yelps. 3/4 note yelp, okay? So how that works this spring, she's up in the tree, the guy gobbles, and she goes real soft. It's called a tree call. I'm over here. A little cluck. Then she hits the ground. Flies out onto the ground. Then she can do an assembly yelp. So this is called a pot call. This is called the striker, and this is actually made out of slate, like the old chalkboards that we had. They now have all sorts of different material to make these, but you can do the cluck, quiet cluck. Just depends on how much pressure you put on. Okay. Now then, the box call. You ready?
Sure.
Okay. So simulate that sound.
The lady sound?
The lady sound. Okay. So there's lots of ways to hold the box. The way I do it is I put my 2 fingers right here, and you're right-handed, aren't you?
Oh, sure.
Oh, sure? Okay, I'm left. Oh, sure. Okay. And you just... Okay.
Don't drop it, you'll break it.
I know. Right, so pull it towards you, and then just...
I'm a turkey. I'm a turkey now.
You're not a turkey.
I've been called worse.
Here's another kind. It's just called a push button. Real simple. It's got a little rubber band, so... What about marketing? Boy, have they marketed to the sportsmen, isn't it? All sorts of things. Okay? And then we could do a whole hour on just old turkey calls. Look at this one. This is from about 1960s, 1950s. Kind of looks like a washing machine, and all you do is go like this. So, marketing, back in the day. Thank you. Wild turkey restoration. Today in Indiana, there's approximately 125,000 birds. Nationally, that number is around 7 million. So we went from that 30,000 up to 7 million, all due to restoration and impact. Hunters help to fund that restoration. Well, hunters, fishermen, anybody who buys a license and there's a money that comes out of those excise taxes. They all get funded back to the Department of Natural Resources, and all of that helped in the restoration of the bird. In Indiana, approximately 1956, they started transplanting turkeys back here in Indiana, and the data that I have shows that we transplanted birds up until about 2004. A little less than 3,000 birds were transplanted in Indiana. We got those from Missouri and Iowa. I helped to release some birds back in the early 80s that came from Missouri. We let 11 of them go. Yeah, 11. So 3 gobblers and 8 hens. And that was up in the Lafayette area along the Wabash River corridor. And those birds have now gone north and south and began to populate throughout that area. So 11 birds went a long way. I was told back there in the 80s that we, at the time, Indiana paid Missouri with rough grouse. And then we got turkeys in return. But anyway, so there are 125,000 thereabouts in Indiana today. Helped by, this is where the National Wild Turkey Federation starts to come into this discussion. Helped to facilitate interstate transfer birds across the country, and spearheaded wild turkey research and the enhancement and conservation of critical habitat. Okay, National Wild Turkey Federation. Let me make just an introduction. Dedicated to the conservation of the wild turkey and, as we've talked about, the preservation of our hunting heritage. Who are we? So we were founded in 1973, so we just had a 50th anniversary. It's a grassroots organization, conservation-minded, volunteer-based, just like you folks are volunteer, and assisted state agencies with the restoration efforts. In 1975, the NWTF put together a group of biologists, right? Why was that important? Well, we have spent time, money, energy moving birds across the country. Okay, so we handled that. So the first part of NWTF's mission was restore. Now it is to become proactive. How do we keep them where they need to be? What do we need? What kind of habitat? Here in Indiana, they identified these 4 areas within the focal areas within the state. And the background of our conservation efforts is science-driven. So there's data being collected, and then securing grants, agreements, and putting in this focal landscape. As you can see, you are probably volunteering in some of these focal areas within the state. I'm making that assumption because we have wildlife refuges and state parks in these regions. So what has the NWTF done? Well, invest in research. In the 23-24 year, over $655,000 were put into habitat, conservation, those sorts of things. That encompassed 9 projects. This is at the national level. And with our partner support, that was leveraged to $6 million. So, none of these projects get done free.